At the trade deadline about a month ago now, the Dallas Mavericks made a pretty shocking and unforeseen deal involving Kristaps Porzingis. It did not receive a lot of love at the time, with many fans confused as to why the Mavericks would want to move on from Porzingis for some of the players who, at the time, were not living up to their contracts. However, a few weeks on from that deal, Dallas has changed the whole narrative of that trade completely, with Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans, but more so Dinwiddie, meshing in perfectly to Dallas' system thus far, and making them look like a far more dangerous team. So, why has it been working? What's changed in Dallas since this trade that's making the Mavs a scary squad to come up against? And will it finally bring this team postseason success and elevate them past the first round? I'll be covering all of that and more in today's video. Before we start, if you're new here and enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe. For more NBA content like this, all support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks. Firstly, let's take a look at the statistical improvement of the Mavericks since the trade deadline, as that will really identify the positive impact this trade has made on the franchise as of late. Before the deadline, the Mavs had a record of 32-25 on the season and were floating around the 5th to 6th seed. Since February 10th though, Dallas has steamrolled their competition, winning 10 of their past 13 games since then, and now sit just half a game behind the 4th seeded Utah Jazz, something that seemed extremely difficult to accomplish some weeks ago. In these 13 games, Dallas's offensive rating has increased significantly to 114.0, whereas prior to the trade for Dinwiddie and Bertans, their offensive rating on the season was 110.9. These wins haven't been easy to come by either, with Dallas beating 6 different teams that are currently in the playoff picture right now, some of them on multiple occasions, including Golden State, the LA teams, Boston, Miami, and Utah. One major beneficiary from this trade has been Luka Doncic, as he's been otherworldly in these past 13 games. Since the deadline, Doncic has been averaging 34.2 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 7 assists on incredible efficiency. Borderline 50% from the field, 41% from 3, and 75% from the free throw line. He's also posting over a steal and a block in this time too. So, how has this happened? Why have the Mavericks become so dominant since the trade deadline, and what does it mean for their postseason hopes? Let's take a deeper dive now into the impact of the trade to better understand how it has benefited not just Luka's play, but also the Mavericks as a whole. To truly understand that, we need to look at the impact being made by Dinwiddie first. We saw a lot of it in the game against Boston, particularly in the second half, where he and Dorian Finney-Smith in particular lifted to help out Luka with the offensive load. Though at the time of the trade, getting Dinwiddie may have seemed risky, as he was on a very lengthy and quite expensive contract that he simply wasn't living up to, he's proven to be a fantastic pickup so far. With Kristaps Porzingis' inconsistencies and injury troubles, replacing him for a playmaker in Dinwiddie strengthens Dallas' backcourt and gives them an extra playmaker outside of Luka to go to, whether that's in the second unit or down the stretch of games alongside him. Dinwiddie has been nothing short of fantastic since arriving in Dallas, returning to the kind of play we saw him have in Brooklyn, with averages of over 17 points a game, 4.5 assists, and shooting splits of 53% from the field and 43% from 3. That is simply incredible stuff, so it's no wonder why he's making the most impact of his career, at least when it comes to the advanced metrics. He's slid in really well next to Luka. There is clear elite chemistry between the two, so it's easy to say that they bring the best out of each other on the floor. If Dinwiddie is able to continue this level of play into the playoffs, the Mavs are going to be a lot more dangerous than many anticipated. A big reason why I say that is because of how elite the Mavs are in half-court sets, which is what the playoffs often become in a longer series. The pace slows right down. The Mavs are currently one of the slowest paced teams in the league, but that could favour them in the playoffs, especially with Dinwiddie now on the team. Dinwiddie is a very patient player and creates very well in the half court, so to have him there in the non-Luka minutes and also sometimes next to Luka as an extra option to run the offense through is great. We saw in the Doncic Dinwiddie minutes against Boston how dangerous he is, especially if he can continue shooting at the rate he's at. He knocked down multiple open treys after Luka was doubled or was forced to move the ball out of his hands, and that threat is going to keep the defense on their heels at all times. However, since Dinwiddie isn't just a spot-up shooter and is a talented ball handler, he can take players off the dribble after catching on the perimeter, going downhill into the paint to attack the defense. For example, in this clip here, Boston was anticipating a shot, as Dinwiddie had knocked down 2 or 3 before this possession, so the defender closes out hard. Dinwiddie takes advantage of the overly aggressive closeout and hunts the rim, ending up with an and one. Typical spot-up shooters don't tend to have that ability to aggressively attack the basket and finish through contact like Dinwiddie does. They settle for a mid-range or contested 3. Dinwiddie does more than that though, so that versatility he brings will create such a new dynamic for Luka and this Mavs team, and it's one that really excites me heading into the postseason. Those are just a couple of things though that I love that Dinwiddie brings to the table, but I'll move on now as this video isn't just about his addition, but I think Spencer's play as a whole has been much needed for Dallas. He's helped elevate this team to a new level, and he could be the piece that gets them over the first round hump. Let's move away from Dinwiddie now though, and focus more on the Mavericks as a whole and how they've played as of late. One thing that's been in common with the Mavericks since Doncic joined the team, but is becoming even more prominent lately, is the Doncic to Powell pick and roll combination. The connection is arguably the best in the league when it comes to pick and rolls. As standalone players in the pick and roll, the two are some of the most elite, with Doncic in the top 10 players in the league in points per possession as a ball handler in the pick and roll. As for Dwight Powell, he's in the 90th percentile as a roller in the pick and roll in the NBA. Put that together and you have a nightmare duo for the defense to contain. With Luka's height and touch around the basket, makes it easy for him to throw lobs over defenders or drop in a floater, depending on how the defense reacts. This specific example against Chicago is one of my favorites. Doncic reads the defense so well coming off the screen and is able to place it perfectly for the downhill Powell to dunk it home. Against the Rockets, a team with terrible interior defense, the Mavs went to the PNR with these two on 3 straight possessions to start the game. Every time it got the same result, a Powell dunk. And overall for the game, it was the biggest thing that Houston struggled to contain. They just had no answers for the smooth, patient play of Doncic and no size to contain Doncic off the screen or Powell on the roll. This isn't even the limit for these two either, because if Doncic can hit his threes on a more consistent level, like he's been able to lately, that just adds a further level of depth to that simple pick and roll. It's truly a scary thought. Furthermore, what I really liked about the play of the Mavs since the trade has been how much better their offense flows now. A big shout out goes to Jason Kidd for this, as he's been able to design a much more effective Luka-centric offense now, and without Porzingis in the lineup, who can throw things off by trying to get in the post to get himself going, it is now all about Luka and his game, and how the supporting cast can elevate him as much as possible. Dinwiddie has been able to do that enormously. Obviously guys like Jalen Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith have been great, and Jason Kidd's focus on getting Doncic going as much as possible, like through those OP pick and rolls every now and then, has also contributed majorly. But with that all being said, what does this all mean for the Mavs? How far can we expect them to go in the playoffs? Well, I definitely think we can expect a deeper playoff run than previous years. It's not going to be easy though. I think Utah are a lot more dangerous than the casual fan may suggest, and the Mavericks' wishy-washy defense could hurt them in the end. But I think offensively, no team is more built for the playoffs than the Mavs, at least in the Western Conference. Dinwiddie's addition has further pushed them to being the best half-court offense in the league, so there's little doubt that Dallas will be a major threat in the postseason. All in all, since the trade, Dallas has been able to maximize Luka Doncic and the team's strengths through Coach Kidd's system, and it's paying off big time. The chemistry is there, the play styles mesh, it's a very exciting thing for Mavs fans to see. I won't try to jinx the Mavericks, the playoffs are very unpredictable, but I think out of any year, the Mavs have been entering the playoffs since drafting Luka Doncic, this is the year where I feel they'll go on to do some major damage. That's just how I feel though. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But for now, the Mavericks are looking really damn good, and that's proving a lot of people wrong after what was said about this team at the trade deadline. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? What are your thoughts on the Mavericks' current roster? Can they finally move past the first round? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.